Welcome back to Crafting a Meaningful Life. I'm Mary Crafts. I get to be your host today. And once again, we're going to be talking about things that allow us to craft our life, to allow us to not be the bobblehead, to not just get to the end of the life and say, is that all there was? That wasn't a great run. Can I do that again? Well, maybe we can, but we don't know because we want to make this life our very best life. So to that end, I have a guest today, and I actually brought him to my home. We're doing this face to face so that we get to feel the vibes and be close. And so let me welcome and introduce you to Coz Green. Coz,
what a blessing
welcome.
To be in your home, Mary.
This is just amazing that you're
This is awesome. This is great.
Okay, so originally today was going to be just me. I didn't schedule a guest, and that's unusual. I usually have guests. And I was excited to talk to you about the things that I had kind of been thinking about this spring. And we were at a Promise to Live mental health town hall at Silicon Slopes. I was there just attending, and you were speaking. And I was walking by. He was signing a book. He's written a book, which we have right here. We'll talk about later. And you were signing a book. You looked up and you said, "Hi, Mary." And I thought, does he know who I am? I didn't know who this guy is. But then you started speaking. And, have you ever had those moments in your life where just someone connects with you and you connect with them and you're on the same page? And that's what I felt about you. And so for you, all of my listeners, immediately I got up after you talked. I went right up to the stage. I beelined it. I wanted to make sure you had my eye connection so you knew I'm coming for you.
Oh, I knew you were coming.
You knew.
You were fixed. Not to the left, not to the right.
Just coming.
A beeline.
And I just said, I was mesmerized. I was just caught up in all of your words. Would you please be a guest on my podcast? And you said?
I would be honored.
Wow! I have Coz Green on my podcast and in my home. I was so excited.
Well, I welcome this opportunity because so many times we do Zoom.
Yeah.
And that's great. But then when I just said, so together, one-on-one or on Zoom? And you're like, well, we could do it in my home. And I was like,
I'm there.
Absolutely, then.
Yeah, just give me your address.
Yeah.
I'd never met him before. Fortunately, he's not a stalker.
Well, good thing I already met John before I came in.
That's right.
He caught me at the driveway and made sure everything was safe. And he pulls out, he's like, well, there's no rap sheet. And he had done his due diligence to let me in your home.
Well, trust me, he Googled you before I Googled you.
Well, Google's my friend.
Yes.
I've learned that in the world of old school, our age. Well, not you're much younger than I am, but our age dating.
Yes.
That's a thing now.
Thank you for pointing that out.
What is someone's last name so I can Google them?
Oh, absolutely.
And I had that experience recently. I met someone for the first time, and I said, my name's Coz, last name Green. Feel free to Google me. And they said, well, maybe you should Google me. And they gave me their name, and they had quite the history to learn, too, that if I needed to make that decision, if that was going to fit, too. And I was like, okay, this works both ways then.
Google can be your friend.
Yeah, if you have a good brand.
That's true. If you have a rap sheet that's not so good. Have you ever gone down to the bottom of the Google search about your name and then clicked on there's a button at the bottom on the left.
Oh.
And it says, the most Googled questions about you.
No.
Well, I didn't know that was there either until someone pointed it out to me.
Okay.
So
go check that out for me and tell me what you find out. This could be funny.
I found out the most Googled question about me, and this was probably more like 5 years ago. The most Googled question was, is Mary Crafts divorced? Right? I'm thinking, really? That's the most thing
Well, people
I am.
want to know if you're available. You're off the market now, though.
I am.
John's
totally.
a lucky man. Congratulations. Mary's still on her honeymoon. Just been married a month.
Yeah, well, it's true. Well, they know I've been on honeymoon. I went 2 weeks in Ireland, and then we went a week in Puerto Vallarta.
Of course you went to Ireland. Yeah. God's island.
Yeah, right?
Right?
Yeah.
We could talk about Ireland for hours.
All the fairies and leprechauns that came,
Okay, love it down. She got married in Wicklow down in Glendalough, she did.
I did. I loved it, every bit of it.
Oh, that wee church there in Glendalough. It's so beautiful.
Yes. So, obviously, we both love Ireland. We'll do another podcast about Ireland another day.
Yeah, another day. We'll reminisce about Ireland.
But, okay, I want people first to have a brief summary of, like, who you are and how you got here. And then I want to talk specifically about the 3 things you brought up, because this was at a mental health town hall. And so people are there, wanting to support and help people who are in the middle of suicide, people who are struggling. And I just thought, really, I want the world to know your thoughts. So let's start with a little bit about you. What do you want them to know about you?
Well, I'm the youngest of...
And then you can Google it.
Yeah, then you can Google me. And then I want you to tell me what's the most common question.
Now you want to know what my most common question is now?
What is it now?
What is Mary Craft's net worth? I'm like, all of these
What does
things,
that matter?
Exactly.
What does that matter? See, that's the world we live in.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I've noticed how many people do that. Oh, what's Taylor Swift's net worth? What's Tom Brady's net worth? Who cares?
Yeah.
It's what's in here that matters, for heaven's sakes.
Well, dude, that's one of the things.
Because we're not taking it with us.
Yeah.
Right? Last time I checked, there are no U-Hauls behind any hearse. So what's the matter what your net worth is? You're not taking any of that with you, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
No.
And you talked about, they're going to have a heck of an estate sale when you pass
when
away.
you go. You're going to qualify for hoarders, Now we acquire all this stuff.
Yeah.
So what?
And
Does that
mine is
define
travel.
you?
I don't.
Yeah, but see, spend more money on experiences than stuff. You'll take that with you.
Same thing with when my kids were little. We didn't own a cabin. We didn't own boats and all the 4-wheelers, but we traveled the world.
But see, that's where kids learn. And my kids, when they were little, we were divorced when they were pretty young.
Yeah.
So mom controlled their world pretty good. So dad couldn't take them out of school. But I think that's the greatest lesson for children is travel.
It is.
I have friends that their children have traveled the world with them at an early age, and they are so much more articulate, so much more mature. And where do you learn that? On the road.
And they learn about diversity.
Yes.
And they
don't see colors because of that.
And they learn that those people who are laughing and how so happy and joyous have nothing. And so I guess joy and happiness does not equate to, how many clothes I have. Well, it might equate to clothes, but
no. I learned that back in 2019 after I retired from NBC Universal. A bunch of friends and we were in Eswatini, the former Swaziland, which is just east of South Africa. And Jason took his 3 little kids. So Elle was, I think, like 9 or 10, and then Sebastian was like 6 or 7, and then their littlest boy was like 3 or 4. They would hop out of the van, we'd roll into a village, they'd start playing with all those little kids, hugging them. They didn't know that they were different.
No.
And the thing is, now they've grown up to some of the most fully functioning, beautiful, loving people because they didn't see borders. They didn't see race, right? It wasn't taught to them.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And those were the happiest people on the planet I've met. And they lived in grass huts with dirt floors and had nothing.
Yeah.
Except love.
Yeah, there's
family. Connection.
Yeah.
And here we are in America, the most abundant society in the history of man, and we're lonelier and more depressed than ever before.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about on the podcast today is how to shift, how to get out of that.
Well, hopefully shift happens.
Yeah. Well, it has for you. It has for me.
Yes.
I know for a lot of my listeners that shift has been a part of their life, but shifting isn't a one-time proposition. It goes on forever. Okay, I keep distracting from, just give us the 30-second.
Okay, so I'm the youngest of 3 children.
Okay.
Grew up in...
I'm the youngest of 3 children. Bang!
There was the greatness right there. Grew up in the hood, Midvale, Utah, not far from here. We used to say that, welcome to White Harlem, and we were proud of it. If you grew up west of State Street, you were in a different class.
You were.
I went to Hillcrest High School. All the kids at Brighton, Strangle, Bangle, and Brighton your day, they used to bug us that we're not going down there and playing those boys and girls in the ghetto. Oh. So that was our chant. Welcome to the ghetto when you came to Hillcrest High School to play us. So we were proud of it. Anyway, grew up in Midvale, youngest of three. I'm the only child in my family to be both conceived and born in a car. I was born on my dad will say I wasn't conceived there, but I was born in the front seat of a 1965 Ford Falcon station wagon.
Okay.
2nd South, 7th East, en route to the old Holy Cross Hospital.
Oh, my God.
My dad slams on the brakes for the red light. I came flying out, hit my head on the dash, and for the first 4 years of my life, it said Ford when I looked in the mirror. No, and I used to joke with my dad because I was convinced I was adopted because there's no way my parents ever communicated 3 times.
Wow. Wow.
My family definitely put the fun in dysfunctional.
Wow.
So grew up in Midvale, had a wonderful childhood, and attended Hillcrest High School, served a mission in Ireland.
Oh, that's why you're connected to the Irish.
And so I had a very unique experience in Ireland. And if anybody served with me, they know this, but I did over 1,500 comedy shows in Ireland. Every village, every town, every theater, every school, every hospital on that island twice.
Wow.
And so it was miraculous. I had 2 rules. You cannot proselyte and you cannot leave the island. So it was just magical what I was able to do over there. Anyway, and then I served in law enforcement in Midvale, was the first Explorer captain.
Now that piece I would not have known.
Yeah, well, all my heroes and mentors were cops. So I said, there's got to be a common thread. So I went to post, the whole thing.
And I was a parole officer in a previous life. So
really?
We both worked a little bit in that.
Enough to empathize now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just, after my mission, that wasn't the career path for me. Yeah. So I teamed up in my early 20s with a gentleman by the name of Brian Tracy.
Okay.
And so have you ever heard of Brian Tracy?
I have heard him. I don't know.
And anyway, prolific speaker, 87 books. So Brian at the time in 1989 was about 25 grand a day live. Now I don't know what he is. Wow. He's hundreds of thousands. But as a young kid, he chose me. And I went into American Express, Chevron, all the big banks, all the financial services, and I got to teach his programs on the psychology of achievement, psychology of success, the effective manager series, how to master your time, his words. I had to learn all of his stuff verbatim. And so here I am as a young 22, 23-year-old kid teaching corporations around the country the finest material on the planet. And how does that then not become a part of you?
Yes.
And so I was very blessed to do that for a number of years. And then I had started in radio when I was 17 as a news reporter, went back into TV and spent my career in broadcasting and media until 2019. And it was a great run.
Since 2019?
2019, I've just been freelancing and working with my little brother in our various businesses, and the voice of the professional rugby team in town, the Utah Warriors. I've done some baseball for the Wolverines.
Yeah, I proudly wear my Wolverine.
Voice of the Marshalls. I'm the voice of Providence Hall High School basketball and football. Audible
You do
voice.
have a voice for radio.
And when I walked in the house, you said I had a face for radio, so thanks for correcting that, Mary.
I did not say that.
You have a face for radio, Coz.
But this
Welcome
is
to the
TV.
show.
Are you going to be okay with that?
And I was like, well, we'll do an AI face. So maybe, hopefully they put a nice stock photo in the post edit here.
I have a very good producer. He can do that.
Yeah.
So
maybe you look like. Do I look like Matthew McConaughey in this rebroadcast? Because that's what the AI I'm hoping he goes
not
for.
So much.
Drew, put in the Matthew McConaughey. All right.
I'm trying to think what face I would. I don't think I would switch my face.
Oh, I wouldn't if I were you.
This
is me since the accident.
I am. Yes, I'm older, but I've accepted that because it also. I'm so
but with your
appreciative
looks
the
and my
wisdom.
personality, imagine we could conquer the world.
But I love the wisdom that comes with the wrinkles.
We are who we are.
And so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, good for you.
So all of that experience and through different walks of life has brought you now to a point, and I think that this is true, that, in fact, I know it's true. You have created some very specific things that help lift, help heal, and make enough cognitive sense to the brain that it connects to the heart, which says, here's truth. When that happens, you know you have the best case recipe and scenario for healing. When you can cognitively get an idea that connects with the heart, and together in alignment, they heal. So I wanted him to share with you the 3 points that you made that day that just were like, wow. And the very first one, when you were up on stage and you said, let's talk about diet. And I was like, I thought this was mental health. Go.
Well, yeah. It's funny because in those situations, people would say, well, how long do you prepare for talks like that? And you've given thousands of talks too. When you've given literally tens of thousands of talks, I hate to burst anyone's bubble, but I don't know really what I'm going to say until I meet my audience. And if you'll notice that afternoon, I stood at the door and I met everyone as they came in.
I did.
A lot of speakers will just go get ready.
Yeah.
I meet everyone as they come in the door. And it's those people as they're coming in the door and I shake hands and look in their eyes. That's when I know what I'm supposed to talk about.
I usually ask, I say, because they don't know I'm the speaker yet.
Right.
And so I'll be like,
I'm just like, hi.
So what are you here for today? What do you hope to gain from being here? And they'll say, like, I'm really hoping this, and I'm just like taking a few notes.
Taking notes. Absolutely. That's what I do.
And you get up and then that's what you talk about.
So if you'll notice, I've given a talk similar to that before, but I didn't talk about diet. But some people had said some things, and I'm like, oh, we need to talk about mental programming a little bit. And so you can shift on a dime. Anyway.
Because everyone immediately went, when you said that word, was to physical diet of what I put in my mouth. But you meant the diet
mental
of what you put into your brain.
Yeah, I mean, think about it, right? So according to the National Science Foundation, the average American has 12 to 60,000 thoughts a day. All right? 80% of those are negative, and 95% of those are repetitive of what we said yesterday. So if we always do what we've always done, we're always going to get what we always got, right? We wonder, why doesn't life change? Well, because our self-talk doesn't change. And more than ever before, not only is there just so much food and cellophane that's crap, and that's why we all deal with birth control in this country, but the mental diet has never been worse.
Right.
In America today, we are so over-consuming horrible, crappy, unhealthy media. And I'm indicting the industry I made my living in. I come from television. And all I can say is, like I said there on Thursday, turn it off.
Yeah.
Turn it off. Because it's not good, right? We can talk about what our children are watching on TikTok and Instagram and all that. You know, when I was in television, we used to watch screen use. And it was like 4 hours a day, then 5 hours a day. Do you realize now that screen usage for the average teenager is every waking hour?
Wow.
That they are looking at their screen for every hour they are awake. Yeah. Is there any question why they're depressed? Yeah. And sorry, but our IQs, our whole cognitive world is going backwards.
And depending on what they're watching,
well, I'll tell you what they're watching.
Programming what they're thinking. We've lost the ability to free think.
We don't think, right? They're just mindless.
They're just eating.
So TikTok in China is different than TikTok here. TikTok in China is educational.
Yeah.
Right? And they shut it off at night and all these things. Here, I won't this is not a bash on TikTok. What I'm just saying is.
It is for me. No.
Watch what you're consuming. So when I talk about mental diet, did you know the average American will never read a nonfiction book once they leave college or university? Not one.
Wow. And so what percentage is that, like 90%?
Will never read a book once they leave college or university. a nonfiction book.
Yeah.
So
I never read nonfiction, so then that's
right? Well, what I'm saying, though, is we can talk all we want about being healthy and eating right and exercising. Well, reading is to the mind as exercise is to the body. So if we're not consuming books, we have two ways of learning, right? Make all the mistakes ourselves or learn from others.
Yeah.
So that's why we read books. We learn from others. Think about that. So the average American spends 500 to 2,000 hours a year in their car. I can commute with Mary Crafts, Brian Tracy, Coz Green. Look at the people I can commute with for pennies in an Audible book or nothing for a podcast. Listen to Joe Rogan. He's got some of the greatest minds in the world sitting in the chair across from him. And we could consume that, but people don't do that. They binge on Netflix and all kinds of other palarva, and then they wonder why they're getting the results they do. Because they're consuming garbage in, garbage out.
And the same thing with social media.
Well,
like
we are what we consume. So not only what we eat, but what we see, what we listen to. That's the great tragedy. And it got worse during the pandemic. When people were closed in, everybody watched Tiger King and all this stuff, and we wonder why we're in the mess we're in, why we're more divided than ever. I mean, think how polarized the country is. You're either red or you're blue. Well, I'll tell you this. Here's the answer. Love.
It is love.
Love is the answer. That hooey doesn't matter because the media makes their money. Sorry, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The media makes their money by dividing us.
By polarizing. Absolutely.
Absolutely polarizing us and creating clickbait. They want you to hate your neighbor. They want you to despise your neighbor.
Yeah.
They want to have us pit against different kinds of people because then they win.
Yeah.
And guess what? They're winning.
Yeah. And
So
the only
turn it
reason
off.
that it matters to them, I mean, there is some that they want their philosophy to be heard, but the main reason they want to win is for one reason only.
It's like revenue.
It's revenue. It's to
That's
market to you, to be able to make money off of you, to monetize you. There hasn't ever been one piece of marketing that's ever been produced that wasn't to get you to feel not enough. And if you
That's the key.
feel not enough, but what I have will make you enough. Whether it's a car, whether it's clothing, whether
that's the
it's
great lie.
with the big football players that are on, whether it's no matter what it is, or if you believe what we're telling you, then you'll be enough because you'll be with the winners.
See, that's the big lie. This is the greatest lie ever told.
Yeah.
Is that you're not enough. You and I were talking about this in the pre-show. We both know literally hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
And everyone I've ever had a one-on-one interview with, and it's come out. I don't care if they've been a head of state.
Yep.
Because I've met with them. Titan of industry, religious leader, whatever. In the final analysis, they say they're not enough. Yeah. And I'm like, excuse you?
Yeah.
You're not enough?
Yeah.
And then I look them in the eye and I say, you're enough. And they break down and cry because they say, I don't know that I believe that. That's the great lie. And so the whole system's set up to teach us from an early age, and I don't know whose fault it is. I don't want to point fingers. But we've all grown up with you're not enough. And then in certain cultures, you're not worthy. And then we rely on a man or a woman or someone to tell us that we're worthy. Well, I'm here today to remind all of us, you're enough and you are worthy of life's greatest blessings, regardless of how someone judges you. You are worthy of life's greatest blessings. So don't think that somebody holds your worthiness in their hand. It's between you and God, and you're worthy of whatever life has for you.
But because it's such a universal, absolutely universal experience that everyone has in this life of I'm not enough, the lack of self-worth. And I've looked at people's backgrounds. They're as varied as can be. And yet they all end up with this experience. It begs the assumption that then that was planned. That's how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to go through this reformation in your life and your journey that and learning experience that all of that, you're feeling not enough, is a gift. So you get to find yourself and realize what? I'm not only enough, but I'm fabulous. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And so it has to be.
So it's a personal discovery for each one of us.
Absolutely.
And it comes in our own unique flavor. Like the way you
say.
learned it, it's not the way I learned it. I mean, and it's hard.
Yeah, it's not easy.
And some people are not willing to do the work.
And it's not, but it's also not a one-time deal. Okay, I learned last week that I was enough, and this week, even though I think I'm feeling the same things, I'm not. I am enough. But we relearn and step up. You experience it on that level again, and then you learn it again, and you get to step up. And sometimes you fall back 10 steps, but that's okay. You know the path now. You know how to get back up here. And so just come along, and then I'm here, and now, you know how I just recently married John?
Yes. Congratulations.
Yeah. He's a winner. I had so many people say to me, I'm so glad you deserve this. And when they would say that, I would feel this inside of me just go, because my whole life I've resisted.
Did you pause?
Yeah, deserve.
Did you pause and say deserve?
And because I associated deserve with earn. Because in my world and in my life, if you deserved anything, you had to earn it. And if you didn't earn it, you didn't deserve it. And when my mom would say to me, you're going to get what you deserve, it wasn't a good thing. And so I realized every time when someone would say this absolute miracle that happened to me, I deserved, I was going to be like, did I earn it enough? Did I put enough time in? Did I what? I was riding in the car one day. John was driving. I'm riding. I'm just looking out the window, thinking about deserve. How could I just deserve this? And then all of a sudden, I just sank back into my seat, and I felt the tension go out of my body because you were born.
Wow.
You deserve, every person, the fact that they were born with deserving happiness and joy.
Wow.
I'm like, me? I just get it as a free gift? I don't have to earn it? Wow, that's wonderful. And I'm 70 years old, and I just got this revelation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing? I think we need to give ourselves more grace.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. I think once we really learn, we get older and we understand what the grace of God is, right? And then we realize we need to give ourselves and others that same grace. We are so hard on ourselves. So when we talk about mental diet, think of it this way. Imagine if you spoke to anyone the way you speak to yourself.
Now, I think they would love it. But before... No.
But back in our heyday when we were learning who we are, that could be right on the verge of perhaps abuse.
Yeah.
Because we talk about bullying in today's society. The biggest bullies we ever had growing up were ourselves.
Right.
The way we would talk to ourselves, at least me.
Can you imagine ever walking up to somebody and just saying, everyone is laughing at you, and they really think that you're like, how you look is ridiculous. Would you ever let those words come out of your mouth?
Well, now we do on social media.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're hiding behind a screen, we'll say it to someone.
But I said those words to myself.
Exactly.
All the time.
That's why self-talk, that mental diet is so important. And that's why we started there. And granted, I only spoke for 12 minutes and spent 2 minutes there. But we could talk about that really, if we just change our mental diet, we will change our life. And that was what really did it for me, is when I changed my mental diet, right? I changed my physical diet. I went from 396 pounds to 200 pounds in 1 calendar year.
Yeah.
Right? I transformed my life. But you know what? It wasn't what happened on the outside, because the outside was just a mirrored reflection of what happened on the inside.
Yeah.
As I changed the inside, the body followed.
Yeah.
Right? So it's inside out, the law of correspondence, as within, so without. And so until I changed my inside world, the way I saw myself, that's the only way the body could follow. Now, I'm still on birth control because my whole life I've had ups and downs, and I emotionally eat, and Last year, I went on the book tour for Through Santa's Eyes, and it was a lot of stress. And I probably ate some of my emotions, and plus a few extra pounds for Santa Claus is a good look. But anyway, it's always been a battle, right? Some people battle it, some people don't. Some people wear their problems differently, right? Some people are alcoholics, but you'd never know. Somebody who has a challenge with weight, you see it. But we all have something, right? No one's exempt from something that we're working on.
That's, I think, such a key principle that I always want my listeners to understand why I live wide open, vulnerable, is I want them to know that no one is exempt.
No one.
That I have my foibles. I have things that have really wreaked havoc in my life. I still have things. I still at times have to go, I need a break. I need to go outside. I need to meditate. I need to get back in center. I need to focus on what's value.
Wait a minute, Mary, you're not perfect?
I know. They know. They hear me talk all the time.
None of us are.
Yeah, that's
embrace that.
Yeah. In your talk, you said, stop watching Fox News, turn it off. And I'm not going, yes! And then in your very next breath, you said, and stop watching CNN, turn it off. And I was like, okay, fine. But here's what happened to me when you said that. I already knew how to monitor my social media stuff. The next morning, I got up, and first thing, usually I'm over there, getting out my vitamins, making my coffee, doing my thing, turn on CNN, I'm listening to it, and I thought, I had a second thought.
Really?
I did. I thought, look how you are starting your day, and look what you're filling your day with. You're pre-programming your brain, Mary, to be depressed, to think about horrible things in the world. They didn't talk anything about love.
No, there was not. There was no 528 love vibration going on
Was
there.
it?
They're taking you down to the devil's interval, it's actually called. It's a frequency. They know where to take you.
So I went over and turned it off. Went back over, turned on my Google music over there and just listened to some Celtic meditation music while I did my morning. And I kept thinking, it's not that I never want to watch the news again. I like to be involved and I like to be informed. And even though I will never run for political office, I like to be a supporter of people who I think are of value. So I said to myself, so when will you watch it? And instinctively, I knew you'll find time. But don't start your day here.
Well,
and
your
so
first hour of the day is your rudder for the day. And most people flip on the TV, and I'm going to let you in on a little secret, okay? So I started in news in 1984 as a news reporter. So this was an old saying, if it bleeds, it leads. So meaning that so when I lived in Chicago, true story, when I lived in Chicago, before the top of the hour, before the news actually ran, the package of, this is the 11 o'clock news on Channel 9, whatever, there would be a little 10-second update, almost like a weather forecast that would say, 26 shootings, 13 dead today. Then the news package would roll. But they would give you the death count every day before the news started. It was no big deal how many shootings and how many died. They would just start the night that way. Okay, if it bleeds, it leads. That's just the news. Okay, so you consciously choose. So back in 1989, when I started working with Brian, he's the one that taught me, look, spend 30 minutes a day getting your news, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Because if it's important, someone will tell you.
Right?
You'll be at the grocery store. So what'd you think about so-and-so? Oh, I didn't know about it. And then you'll go look it up. The problem is the average American is consuming 8 to 10 hours of that a day. That's like just eating 15 boxes of Krispy Kreme and expecting to do a marathon.
Yeah.
It's not possible. And then that's how we're so divided. Because be totally transparent, if I watch MSNBC for a week and adopt that belief system, and I get with someone who watches Fox News for a week, and they're in that belief system, the two will never meet. Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
You got to find some happy medium of truth. And so the point to that is, turn it off. And what if we just focus on love? What a concept. Instead of what's wrong with that person because of their beliefs, how can I find common ground and love and serve that person? Turn it off and love. Love is the answer to all the crap we're going through in this country.
It is.
Love is the only answer.
It's the only answer.
The only answer. Not more political division. Not if we can put one guy in jail and the other guy goes to the old folks' home, and whether or not they'll both stand for a debate. Okay? That's not what we're talking about. At the end of the day, it's, do I love my family? Do I love myself? Do I love my neighbor? Because if we're looking to Washington, D.C. to solve all of our social ills, we're screwed.
We are.
Because like you saw in that little talk that I sent you, what kind of country would this country be if everyone in it were just like me?
Yeah.
And I'm afraid we have a problem.
Yeah.
And it's because we need to step up as individuals in this country. We need to be love. We need to be kind. We need to represent those kind of values. And that's the only way we're going to make a difference in this world. It doesn't, well, it would matter who is in the White House. I'll give you that. But in the end, what happens in our homes, what happens in our neighborhoods, what happens in our communities is the byproduct of the people in those areas. We need to step up and be more kind and loving people. That's the answer, not the clown we put in the White House.
Drop mic.
It's on a stand. It can't drop.
You know, I think that truly is the answer. It's this concept of that we are each unique, but that uniqueness creates the whole. And I like to think of myself as that puzzle piece. And if I stand over here and say, where do I fit? I don't know where I fit. I will be standing here until I die at 105. That's my goal. With my own lone puzzle piece. But if I lay it down and say, this is my puzzle piece, would anyone like to join me? And other people lay down their puzzle pieces that are all different than my puzzle piece. By the time we're done, we've created a masterpiece.
Beautiful mosaic.
And so every day I think that in my head, that's one of my first thoughts. Lay down your puzzle piece so others can join with you. Don't hold it up here. Be happy that others want to come and join. And shout out to people. I think you fit here. You want to come over here? You know what I mean? But I used to, this is my confession, discriminate on who I would accept as friends on social media based on, they would send me a friend request. I would go on their feed on whether it was LinkedIn or whether it was Instagram or Facebook. I don't tweet. I don't TikTok. And see if they were a Trumper. If they were a Trumper, I did not want them. Delete, block. And one day I realized, oh, Mary, you're kind of just like them. You think they are discriminating against you, but in reality, you're discriminating against them. You don't want them to be part of your mosaic picture. They have your own picture over there.
But what could they teach you?
Absolutely.
Right? Everyone's a teacher.
So I never look at that now.
But people come into our life for either a reason, season, or a lifetime. And we never know. Is it just for a reason, short term, season of our life, or a lifetime? But everyone is a teacher. And I've learned this, and it really came to me the other day. I was thinking more about my book, and I have a friend who owns some businesses and is pretty active politically. And I just said to her, well, the opposition buys that product too. I happen to say, well, Republicans drink beer too, right? Because the industry she's in. And I'm reminded of Michael Jordan when he said, I'm not going to be political because Republicans buy shoes. And so Michael Jordan, who makes millions of dollars an hour, does not discriminate who buys his shoes. And I think there's a lesson for all of us to learn. I don't care what business you're in, but if you're going to have such a defining brand that you're just blue or red, you just cut 50% of your audience out of your business. So this year I've committed that even if I have some political beliefs, I'm not going to express them on social media because this is more important to me, to get out a message of love is the answer. We need to be less selfish, be more elfish. And so if I make some stupid, share some meme that is funny in the moment, that makes one of those clowns look clownier, it might be funny for a minute, but I've offended somebody who could potentially align with my message and miss the mark of changing their life. So I would challenge more business people out there, just be careful what you're branding yourself as, because if it's purely political, then you've got half the population. Just know you're working with half the population then.
I actually love the color purple.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
Right, go Weaver State. But why don't we, and so I'm making this personal commitment to you, Mary, to just say, I'm going to pull back. So my social media is a little different. So on Facebook, everything's just public, right? It's not you have to be a friend to see what I say.
On either one.
Yeah, I just share love and light.
I'm public.
So I'm a different guy, right? Mine, I'll share some funny things, but it's usually, I'm going to use that little bit of real estate to try to make someone's day a little better. And it really touched me when I was at Silicon Slopes with you, and I went over and I saw a friend that I know from professional sports, and he said, I want to show you what I sent my girls today in their family text. And it's what I had posted that day. And he said, you make my family post 4 or 5 times a week. Of what you share on Facebook is what I share with my family. And that's when I recognized that we all have an opportunity to share this love and light with whatever mediums we're using. So instead of bashing the other guy, instead of criticizing, instead of making fun, let's just share a little bit more kindness, and we will make a difference. And so I'm telling you publicly, I'm making a commitment that as we get closer to the election season this year, I'm going to double down on goodness. I'm going to double down on love and light. And whatever clown wins, then the country deserves that clown. And it will be a circus. Either way, it just will be.
Yeah.
So all you can do, and remember, we lose control at the edge of our fingertips. So at the end of the day, we can control about this much of what we think we really can. And that's why we're so mentally ill too, right? Because of social media, we let all of this in, and we're so overwhelmed with what's going on. At the end of the day, what can you really control? So focus on what you can control. But I can only control me. Let the rest go. Right. And then just let the rest go.
If I'm keeping a good mental diet.
Right.
And I think that's what today was about, was that if you really want to be in charge of you and what you choose to do with your puzzle piece, then you've got to stop so much of just being a victim of outside influence.
Eyes and ears. Yeah. Change the diet. What you watch, what you read, who you listen to. Yeah. So that's mental diet too. Who do you hang around with? What gossip do you listen to?
Yeah.
Right? Just understand the power of words, and the most valuable conversations, the most effective communication in the world is the intrapersonal communication. It's the self-talk. So be careful what you say to yourself.
Coz, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mary, for the invite.
I just can't wait to have you back, because the second half of the talk was even better.
And we don't even know what that is yet.
I'm not even going to give you a preview. I'm not.
Oh, yeah, we'll keep it a secret.
We'll keep it a
secret.
In
TV, we call this the tease.
It is the tease.
So in part B, you can't miss it. Must see TV with Mary.
Well, I'm on YouTube, and then I have my own channel.
Well, it's still television.
Yeah, it is. It's the screen time.
But positive, good screen time.
Yeah, and you can listen to it audio when you're driving or getting ready in the morning or exercising.
Right? Yeah, but you're much better on video.
I am?
Oh, yeah, you're beautiful.
Oh, goodness. Thank you. I've been actually thinking about going back to only audio because when I look at that tape now, I'm like,
none of us
pull the camera back.
HD is not my friend.
But such as it is, I love being with you today, and I loved being with my good friend now, Coz Green. And if you want to know more about him, Google him. And his book is on Amazon. I will include the link to this at the end of the podcast.
Can I say one thing about that? You did it. Go to throughsantaseyes.com, or I made it easy, santabook.com, because if you get a book, you get the second one free for just the cost of shipping.
And I did that. I bought the first one, and then I got the second one free that I'm going to
And I'm thinking, why did she buy a book?
Because today he brought me a book signed. So now 2 of my friends are going to get to have a book. I can't wait to read this because I can tell already as I read through the back, it's not just a Christmas book. It's really about a way of life.
It's a movement.
Yeah.
Every day that ends in why.
Yeah. Love.
That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I love it.
Love is the answer.
It is. And you hear that every day from me. And I use the word and term oneness, but it's the same. We cannot be together in oneness, true, honest to goodness oneness, unless we are living in love. And that's our gift to you today, to truly be mentally aware and emotionally aware of the diet that you have and what you're feeding yourself. And I talk to myself and John and as many people as will listen every day about what they put in their body physically. And I'm also talking about what you put in your body emotionally, mentally, spiritually. They affect you just as much. And I'm going to add in there socially. Because what diet you eat socially affects you as much. And we extend an invitation to you to try it. To try the gift of love. To try the diet of love. And we'll see you next time.
Well, and you can't overdose on love.
No, well, and when you do, it's ecstasy. Coz, my friend, look forward to having us back. And remember, until then, it's your choice to craft a meaningful life. Namaste.
Namaste.
Crafting a meaningful life.